On this episode of Just Seen It, we review the black and white drama from Portugal, Tabu.
Às vezes até parece que estão a fazer pouco.
It just takes a very different approach in discussing its theme, which I believe is misplaced love.
We offer up our top entertainment picks of 2012.
Oh, got it! Yeah! Ooh, Lord! Look what we got!
If my English teacher's the only friend I make today, that would be sort of depressing.
Seriously? Thank
Don't you thank me until you hear what I want for it.
Here's a movie that really cements her as an elite director in Hollywood.
And we review the French language Amour, nominated for Best Picture of 2012.
Tu avais laissé l'eau couler.
Dis donc, qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Tu es complètement folle?
This is the most accurate representation of love you will ever see in cinema.
All right here on Just Seen It.
Figa Santa, a Dona Aurora ligou o estoril. Perdeu tudo.
Gravely ill, Aurora asks her friends Pilar and Santa to contact a long-lost lover.
Minha querida Pilar, esta vez não teve nada a ver com as outras. Foi de sonho.
After she dies, they seek to uncover the mystery of Aurora's past. Aurora's lover reveals their heated affair from 50 years ago. In Tabu.
Hi, I'm Salim. I'm Aaron.
I'm Sean. Here at Just Seen It, we don't like to just talk about the blockbuster films. We want to cover some independent films and some foreign films. So today we're going to talk about Tabu, a Portuguese film directed by Miguel Gomez, which has the widest international release yet of a Portuguese film. We've all just seen it. Mm-hmm. Is it okay to talk about this movie, even though it's taboo?
I think we can.
Okay.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
So this film is broken up into two different sections. The first half is called Paradise Lost. Second half is called Paradise. The first half deals with a woman named Pilar, who's looking after her neighbor, Aurora. And Pilar is looking to help people. Aurora is very paranoid about a lot of things. She's somewhere in her 80s, I believe. It's very strange in its storytelling. It kind of almost felt like a Wes Anderson movie to me, a Portuguese Wes Anderson movie. Because the first part of the film was about Pilar, and the second part is really about young Aurora and her love life. We don't ever go back to Pilar. Mm-hmm. And I think that's unfortunate because Pilar is a very engaging and interesting part of the first part of the picture.
Yeah, I mean, part of this is we're an American audience. I think we have to admit that. There's a very European aesthetic going on in its storytelling and in the way it's filmed. I was a little bit jarred because I was actually getting into this Pilar story. Here's a woman who's very religious, and she has this interesting relationship, I thought, with this painter who's giving her paintings, and she doesn't want to hang them up on her wall.
Except when he comes over.
Look at him. Yeah. Except when he comes over.
And it's very, very sweet.
It's very sweet, and I was like, I really like to see where this goes, but it turns out that part two is not about Pilar at all. It's about Aurora. Yeah. It's about this young woman who had this love who she lost, who now in her waning years is trying to reconnect with him in some way, but then what's the connection between part two and part one? It's very difficult to discern.
It is, and interestingly enough, when I walked out of the theater, I didn't really get it, and it took me a good hour and a half to really understand it, and I think it just takes a very different approach in discussing its theme, which I believe is misplaced love. Mm-hmm. So in the first half, Pilar is giving love to people or anything that she can just so that she can give love to something or someone, and none of it really fulfills her, and she also tries to help Aurora and be fulfilled in that way. The second half definitely has a more direct approach in discussing this theme, but I like it because it's addressed in such a unique and lyrical and strange way. It made me think a lot about it after I left the theater.
And I was just kind of left at the end of the movie going, well, is Pilar supposed to have learned something from this? Is she supposed to grow, or is there something about Aurora that she always thought was true that is no longer true because the story's been told to her?
I agree with what you're saying. It doesn't have an ending, but I don't necessarily think that all films need to have an ending, especially the artistic and lyrical ones, like this one.
Yeah, but they do need a third act.
Nas noites de Ano Novo, e após beber uma garrafa de whisky, fechava a porta da sala, colocava uma bala no tambor do revólver, encostava-o à têmpora e desafiava a vida.
Teresa Madruga plays Pilar, and she does a really wonderful job. She's fragile and very believable in her role, you know, trying to find something worth living for. And she's also funny when the occasion calls for it.
Yeah, I really admired her performance. I thought she was probably the most talented person in the cast.
Oh, she was wonderful. She had this tender, kind quality. I felt very bad for her often because of all the kindness that she was conveying to people and how oftentimes it wouldn't be given back, or it would be given back and not necessarily the way that she wanted.
Right.
We also have Laura Soveral, who plays old Aurora. She's great. She plays this woman who is wrought with paranoia and guilt very well. You know, she doesn't speak to her daughter anymore. Her husband has long since passed away. And she's also really funny when the script calls for it. And it's strange, the first half of the film almost seems like a dry comedy at times.
I actually thought that the strongest acting was in the flashbacks. We have Ana Moreira, who plays young Aurora, and then we have Carlo Cota, who plays young Ventura. Now, Ventura is Aurora's lover in the second portion of the film. I thought that they were fantastic because they didn't have any dialogue. Everything had to be represented through actions, you know, looks, and it was really wonderful considering that this is a love story and we're seeing them fall in love not through words.
Yeah.
And they're very interesting people to look at, and that helps when they don't have any dialogue.
The cinematographer, Hui Pocas, he does a fantastic job making the black and white look vivid. I wanted to see some of these shots in color because of how vivid they looked.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome to see black and white, you know, a medium that isn't used very often, used to its fullest potential, and mostly because it had a lot of different styles in it. It felt very cinema verite, very realistic and documentary at one time. It also felt very French New Wave at another, and it even felt German Expressionist at another time.
Well, the title Tabu is actually taken from an F.W. Murnau film.
Right.
So I think there's definitely some, it's not a remake, it just takes the title, but there's definitely an aesthetic of German Expressionism that proliferates itself throughout the movie. The aesthetics of Tabu will please the art house audiences, but I don't feel that anyone else will really get into this picture, so I have to say, stream it.
Tabu looks beautiful in black and white, but it's the gray and murky areas of the story and the plot which warrant a stream it.
Tabu is a unique and beautiful film with a very intriguing way of telling its story. If you're interested, it's a see it.
All right, so if I tabulate our votes, that up to 2 tickets, which is a stream it for Tabu.
Indeed.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello, I'm Liz.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sean. And today's a very special day at Just Seen It because we're going to give you our top entertainment picks of 2012. So Liz, why don't you start off and tell me your number 3 pick?
Sound of My Voice.
She's actually amassing followers, these people who believe that she'll lead them to salvation or whatever. And yes, she's dangerous, but we have to see this thing through all the way.
Sound of My Voice revolves around a woman who purportedly comes back from the future and the cult that develops around her and whether she's for real or not. And it's the most suspenseful film I've seen in the past few years. I had goosebumps for days just thinking about it. And it's so unfortunate that no one has seen it.
Right.
But it's a great film because there's amazing performances. And the fact that it was done so inexpensively, but it's so smart, was very impressive. It was made for about $30,000.
Kevin, what's your number 3 pick?
HBO's Girls.
I have no boyfriend, no job. But you could totally get a pretty person job. I don't think I'm a model.
No, not a model. I think it's a really honest portrayal of relationships, especially for the post-college crowd. It really deals with these 4 girls who are just kind of trying to find their way after college. And they're all a little bit, navel-gazy, and people criticized the show for that, but that's the way that generation is. So I thought it was pretty honest. It deals with sexual situations really honestly. It's not cast with people from the CW and Abercrombie and Fitch ads. They're real people, and I thought that was refreshing as well.
So my number 3 pick is David O. Russell's Silver Linings Playbook.
What? Hey. What's this?
Did you tell me you took him out?
The court said yes.
Yeah, but what did the doctors say?
Can I do an interview for a school project on mental illness?
No.
So this is directed by David O. Russell, who's a terrific director. As long as he doesn't beat people up, he can keep making movies, and I'm fine with that. It's got a lot of great performances. Bradley Cooper He's in The Hangover, and he's fine in those movies, but this is really the first performance where we've seen Bradley Cooper, the actor, really shine. And Jennifer Lawrence is amazing in the picture, and she's got a very complicated character to play, and she really is able to balance a lot of different aspects of this character and make it very, very successful. It's another one of her performances in a long string of performances that are extremely impressive.
Well, my number 2 pick is actually a television show.
Oh, no.
I know. This is very exciting for me. And it is season 3 of The Walking Dead.
Last chance! Where's your group? Suit yourself! You're a pretty big snack for this fella, but you know what they say. He's gonna be hungry again in an hour.
So what's great about season 3 is that it's a dramatic improvement from season 2. I still like season 2. I'm not a hater on season 2 like most people, but season 2 is very slow and just very ponderous, and they stay around the same location, the same time. But season 3 is dramatic and exciting, and they get rid of some dead weight that I was very... Oh, me. They get rid of some dead weight that I was... really grateful to have gone from the show.
So my second pick is a movie that nobody really ever saw. It's called The Pact.
I'm really worried about Nicole. I don't know where she is.
Hey, Nicole!
So the story revolves around 2 sisters whose abusive mother has just died. So they go back to the mom's house to kind of take care of things. And the older sister's kind of staying the night, and she's Skyping with her daughter and literally just vanishes while walking through the house. But there's a ghost in there, and it's creepy, and the on-set special effects for this really low-budget movie are fantastic. So there was a 3rd act final reveal that was so creepy and unnerving that I literally grabbed my friend and was screaming at the television.
Oh, God.
So my number 2 pick is Wes Anderson's best film to date, and it's called Moonrise Kingdom.
Dear Susie, walk 400 yards due north from your house to the dirt path which has not got any name on it. Turn right and follow to the end. I will meet you in the meadow.
So Moonrise Kingdom follows these 2 young people who basically have a coming-of-age romance. And, you know, Wes Anderson is one of these directors who makes movies that sometimes feel like they're kind of out of the same stock. But then he comes out with Fantastic Mr. Fox and this movie, which I think really shows that he's just terrific and he's really doing interesting, different films from everyone else. The cast here includes 2 kids, Jared Gilman and Kara Hayward, who are just perfectly cast. I mean, I don't know how you could find better kids for this movie.
You couldn't. They're amazing.
Who they're written as. And the adult cast is terrific as well. You have Bruce Willis and Bill Murray and Tilda Swinton and Frances McDormand. It's just a fantastic cast, and it's just great filmmaking. We should move on to our number 1 entertainment pick of 2012.
So my top entertainment pick for 2012 is Beasts of the Southern Wilds.
In a million years, when kids go to school, they're gonna know. Once there was a hush puppy, and she lived with her daddy in the bathtub.
It's one of the best movies I've seen in the past few years. We have an unusual heroine in Hush Puppy who's brazen and spunky and just wonderful to watch. And then you have this setting of the bathtub, which is, you know, a fantasy of potentially post-Katrina South. And it's where people are drunk and they live in shacks and in boats and they're all impoverished, but they all really enjoy life and connecting with each other, and it's just beautiful. And then, I mean, just the story is so personal and intimate amidst this epic scope.
It's a fully realized world, and I don't care how young or inexperienced she is. Kavajane Willis, one of the best lead female performances of the year.
Absolutely,
Amazing.
absolutely. My number 1 pick is The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Do you think if people knew how crazy you really were, no one would ever talk to you?
Come on, let's go be psychos together.
This was a film that seemed to have a good pedigree. It's, you know, this acclaimed novel and it has all these great people in it, but then it was kind of at the theater, but not a lot of people saw it. But I thought it was, you know, Oscar-worthy. I think it's beautifully written. It's actually directed, and the screenplay was written by the author of the book. And it's just this story about these 3 teenagers in high school in the, I think it was early 90s. They don't really ever tell you. And I just thought that even though it's about teens, it didn't dumb down teenagers. And this wasn't. This was about real people that had real problems, and they really cared about each other. I think Logan Lerman, who plays Charlie, who's pretty much the lead of the movie, really delivered an Oscar-worthy performance. I'm kind of surprised that he's not being talked about more.
My number one pick, top entertainment pick of 2012, is The Hunt for Osama bin Laden, as chronicled in Zero Dark 30.
You really believe this story? Osama bin Laden? Yeah. What part convinced you? Her confidence.
This is a taut, really gripping picture. We know the events that happened. We know that we got them, like I said, but this is a movie that chronicles it in almost a documentary type fashion, going through exactly the procedure that occurred, where we found the information. I think it's Kathryn Bigelow's best work to date. A lot of people wanted to discredit her for The Hurt Locker. You know, she won an Oscar. Here's a movie that really cements her as an elite director in Hollywood, and it's a fantastic movie. So just to recap, Liz, give me your top three.
I picked number 3, Sound of My Voice, because it's a film that no one really saw. Number 2, Walking Dead Season 3, because of its dramatic improvement from the second season, and because Glenn is in it. And then I also picked Beast of the Southern Wild for my number 1 pick, because it's just the pinnacle of independent filmmaking.
All right, Kevin.
My 3 picks exhibit all the range of emotions. I laughed with HBO's Girls, I got scared with The Pact, and I wept with The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Well, my number 3 pick is Silver Linings Playbook by David O. Russell, because it has the Philadelphia Eagles. No, I don't like them, but it's a terrific movie. My number 2 pick is Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom, which I feel is his pinnacle work to date. And my number 1 pick is Kathryn Bigelow's Zero Dark 30. So here's to 2013. By the way, I also liked Argo and Lincoln.
Damsels in Distress!
Enlightened with Laura Dern and The Impossible.
Our DVD pick of the week is Woody Allen's To Rome with Love.
I lived in Rome for a year when I was your age. This might have been my exact street.
Come on in, my girlfriend makes great espresso.
My friend just broke up with her boyfriend. I told her she could stay with us. She's smart and funny. Men just adore her. I think it's because of the sexual vibe that she gives off.
I always had a little yen for sleeping with a woman, and when I finally did it was incredible.
She's something, isn't she?
When we reviewed the movie last summer, we gave it a See It. Also out this week for DVD and streaming is the raunchy comedy For a Good Time Call.
I can't afford an apartment by myself in the city.
I have a place for you.
Where? You.
Hi.
Sweetie, tell us some more about the new place.
The apartment is spectacular and my roommate is whatever.
Katie, there's no toilet paper. What? I can't hear you. I'm running late. Bye.
And we gave that movie a Stream It. So there you have it. 2 comedies for your home theater enjoyment.
George and Anne live a quiet life together. When Anne suffers a debilitating stroke, George must care for her.
Anne, this is best.
But as Anne's mind and body seriously decline, George finds his beloved slipping away. In Amour.
Hi, I'm Brenna. I'm Leah.
And I'm Aaron. Today we're here to discuss the new film from Michael Haneke, Amour, nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Director and Best Picture. We've all just seen it. Do we have Amour for this film?
It's a film about this octogenarian couple living together, and the wife has a stroke, and then the husband has to take care of her. And it's basically a 2-hour film of just the window of looking at these people's lives. I hate to say this because it's such a beautiful film, and it's well done, and it's amazingly performed, but it's just not a very unique story.
I think that's actually a credit to the film. I mean, I know I always like to see a new story, but seeing something that we've seen many times before isn't necessarily a bad thing either, especially in this case, because the writing is so strong and we see the deterioration not only of Anne, but of Georges, her husband, and all the things that he has to go through. And it's not over the top, but there's so much time to linger and think about stuff and see stuff happen that it's really impactful.
C'est drôle. Je sais pas si je devrais te le dire, peut-être que ça va te gêner, mais tout à l'heure, quand je suis entrée, je me suis rappelé comment je vous écoutais toujours faire l'amour quand j'étais petite. Pour moi, c'était rassurant. Ça me donnait le sentiment que vous vous aimiez et qu'on resterait toujours ensemble.
The title being Amour, I mean, there's a bit of irony in that title, especially since this film presents a picture or an image of love in a way in which films typically do not, right? There's a whole lot of romance and flowers and candy and wine and all that kind of stuff. And this film does a really good job of erasing all of that, or at least coating that with harsh doses of reality. Thematically, this film, one of the things that this film says is that love will make us do things that we never thought we were capable of doing.
The most important thing I feel about this film, besides the amazing performances and direction, is that this is the most accurate representation of love that you will ever see in cinema.
It builds to a climax that I really didn't see coming, and I can't give it away, but it stayed with me for days, and it's very, very emotional. And it's just a testament to the theme of this film, which is showing us what love really is, or what it can become in certain situations.
So while we're glowing about this film, I want to take the opportunity to say that it's difficult subject material. It's difficult to tell somebody to see this in the theaters because it is hyper-realistic, it's beautifully shot, it's wonderfully acted, but it's all things I think most people have experienced. For instance, I went through a similar thing with my grandfather when he was dying of cancer. I've seen it in real life. So I can't justify telling somebody to go and watch these strangers slowly deteriorate when a lot of people have seen it in their daily lives with people they actually care about.
I mean, I think that there are plenty of people who have not. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's a difficult movie to say, yeah, girl, you really should run out and see this movie. I mean, this is not that kind of movie,
No, it's
right?
not, but not all amazing films are like that. I mean, you think of, Terms of Endearment and all those movies that have won Oscar, gotten Oscar recognition and are very sad. And just because you're not going to walk out of a theater feeling good doesn't mean you shouldn't go see this film, especially because you're supporting the film itself and the filmmakers.
Well, let's talk about some of the really great elements of this film, which are the performances, right? These actors, Jean-Louis Trintignant and Emmanuel Riva as Georges and Anne, give really standout, stellar performances. You totally believe that this couple has been together for the last 50 plus years. Mm-hmm. They express and exhibit such a range of emotions.
Yeah, no, they both give outstanding performances. Jean-Louis Trintignant as Georges, he feels lived in. He's completely invested in this story, and the different amount of emotions on his face and how slight the differences are in his face are quite astounding.
Anne. Coucou. C'est moi. Anne. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Anne. Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Then Emmanuel Riva is just unbelievable. She's convincing, and her transformation is so hard to watch, but it's done in such a good and strong way. And I really think she should win the Best Actress Oscar.
Mais tu fais quoi? Tu avais laissé l'eau couler.
Dis donc, qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Tu es complètement folle? C'est une blague?
Pardon?
C'est une plaisanterie ou... Ça se veut une plaisanterie ou quoi?
Quelle plaisanterie? Je ne comprends rien.
Michael Haneke, I believe, is one of the most provocative filmmakers, and he does it without a whole lot of yelling and screaming, look at me, as a filmmaker. The things that he likes to tell stories about are really just stuff that, number one, we don't want to have to deal with, and I think that that's one of the values of this film.
There are a lot of shots of people waiting, and you see things that you don't usually see in film. You'll see like a character go and sit down in a chair, and then somebody leaves to go get something, and you're staying on the character in the chair. That style of shooting isn't something that we see very often, and it adds a different light to it, which makes it even more realistic.
It's just to the bone, very raw, unabashed, and when you take all of that away, all you are left with pretty much is the story.
If a beautiful, hyper-realistic portrayal of old age appeals to you, then see it. But for the rest of us, stream it.
Amour is the kind of film that coats romance with heavy doses of reality, perhaps too much reality for some people. I say stream it.
Amour is a wonderful yet heartbreaking film that really deserves its Best Picture nomination, so I'm going to say see it.
Our votes add up to 2 tickets, which is a stream it for Amour.
Alrighty.
Love.
Go home and cry.
Hey, Sheriff. Almost didn't recognize you in plain clothes.
Well, it's my day off. Should be a quiet weekend.
We have a situation.
We've got a cartel with heavy firepower headed towards the border. And there's a strong chance they're coming your way.
I've seen enough blood and death. I know what's coming.
Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Liz. Today we're doing a review on The Last Stand, the new film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. We've all just seen it. Sean, you want to start us off?
Yes. So Arnold's back. It's great to have Schwarzenegger back in theaters. It's his first movie in almost 10 years since Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, his first leading role anyway, and he plays this small-town sheriff, Ray Owens. It's a border town in Arizona called Somerton Junction, and these villains want to come into Somerton Junction and cross the border into Mexico, and Arnold and his merry band of deputies stop them. Or try to. I'm not going to give away the movie.
His band of misfits.
So I think it's pretty run-of-the-mill standard fare for Arnold. It's got a villain played by Eduardo Noriega who's kind of boring. Forrest Whitaker's in this picture, by the way. He's kind of wasted. He doesn't really do much. Johnny Knoxville's second build. He's barely in the movie. But it is fun once Knoxville becomes integral to the plot. I think it kicks into high gear in the third act. There's a lot of fun shootouts. There's a car chase through a cornfield, which is unique and different. And so I really like that. But it does take a while to get going.
Right now we have Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Willis all have action movies coming out within a few weeks of each other. And that hasn't happened in a long time, and I think The Last Stand is a really good start to that. I mean, Arnold's older, but I think the film plays to his strengths, and it knows what it is. I mean, it's B-movie fun, and for this time of year, that works for me.
When you said it knows what it is, I completely agree with you. I mean, that's why I like this film so much, because it's very self-deprecating, and that got me on its side. And we have a supporting cast filled with model-esque performers who have really vapid characters. But Forrest Whitaker, I think, is actually elevating the quality of the film instead of degrading it. And Luis Guzman is great. And the script sets up the central set piece of The Last Stand really well. The exposition is really clear.
I care about the town.
I care about the town.
Somerton Junction.
Right.
Fun cast of characters that populate the town. I mean,
You get
I'll
involved.
Get that. Yeah, but I mean, most of the movie is just this guy driving down to Arizona in this really fast car with the FBI chasing him.
But they're cool car chases.
It's cool car porn.
Only in the last half hour.
I really think it knows what it is, and that's why it's so great. Is because it's popcorn fare, and it's like Expendables. It's just a bunch of goofy old people shooting and killing people. And if you like that, then I think you'll like this movie.
So it's fun to see Arnold back, but I don't think The Last Stand really kicks into high gear until its last 30 minutes, so I say it's best worth checking out at home. Stream it.
Arnold's older, the story's goofy, but I got what I wanted out of this. That's what I expected. I say see it.
Look, I had a really good time watching this movie, and I think that the script took the time to set up what is the most valuable part, which is The Last Stand. And for that, I say, see it.
All right, well, it looks like I've all set up 2.5 tickets, which is to see it for The Last Stand. Cheers.
Cheers.
Get to the theater.
It's not a doomer.
In honor of the 2012 Academy Awards, on our next episode, we discuss the nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Actress. So get out your tuxedos and your designer gowns, and we'll see you next week at the Oscars. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Sean.
Come on.